Well, the new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, is someone who opposed Brexit back in 2016 and wanted Britain to remain in the EU. For more on how his leadership could change the UK's relationship with the EU, I'm joined on set by our Europe editor, Armen Georgian. Armen, there are quite a few areas where we might see a different relationship. You're going to start with two key issues, security and migration.
Yeah, I think it's worth just reminding everybody quickly that Keir Starmer is not planning to go back into the single market or the customs union. So we're not going to see a massive change in the relationship, but there are areas where there's an expectation of closer cooperation. On security, yes, Labour is interested in having a security pact with the EU, which would mean more structured cooperation than what exists at the moment. And there is this conference of the European political community, which is a kind of bigger European club in Blenheim Palace in England on July the 18th. So the UK is actually hosting that European political community event. And this is where Keir Starmer could obviously set this sort of different tone in relations with the EU, but also talk about the security pact. Alison, you mentioned migration. That's obviously a key issue across Europe and in the UK. Keir Starmer saying he'll try to reach an agreement with the EU, a returns agreement. So that would mean some cross-channel migrants could be sent back to the EU. The key question there is, though, will there be a quid pro quo? So will he be asked then to also take in some EU migrants that have crossed into the EU from the sea routes into Greece and Italy, for example? In that sense, he could still be vulnerable, therefore, from the opposition, despite this huge majority. But it does kind of open up a flank of attack on him on the whole immigration issue. But we'll have to see, of course, first, how those negotiations go with the EU.
Okay, a security pact, though, definitely sounds like it's on the table. What other issues might the two sides be a little bit more cautious on?
Well, anything that has to do with the single market is difficult. So things like mobility or financial services or chemicals. As I said, Labour isn't going to go back into the single market, but it does see this opportunity for more economic growth in closer ties with the EU. But that raises the question of what the EU calls cherry picking. That's to say, British leaders wanting benefits of the EU, but without the responsibilities that go with those benefits. And this idea of cherry picking has long been a kind of tricky part of the whole EU-UK relationship. So Brussels will be looking out for anything like that on the part of the new government. On Northern Ireland, that's one of the... we were going to talk about that separately, weren't we?
Go ahead, tell us about Northern Ireland. Well, that's a thorny issue.
Yeah, so it is one of the thorniest aspects of Brexit. And there, I think, again, we're going to see some caution. Keir Starmer says he wants what's called in the jargon an SPS, a sanitary and phytosanitary agreement with the EU, which would smooth out trade as well as make life easier for farmers. So that's all part of this Northern Ireland issue. But crucially, the EU says if you want that, we might have to get the European Court of Justice involved. So a supranational court which then reopens all these debates about what is Brexit really, how sovereign is Britain really, and so forth. So that's going to be another potentially difficult area for Keir Starmer.
Okay, and first meeting you said July 18th.
Well, that's the EPC at Blenheim Palace.
Okay, well, at least we'll get a sense of the tone at that time. We'll be keeping an eye on it. Armen, thank you so much for that. That's our Europe editor there, Armen Georgian.